I believe we are live here on Live Talk with Becky Chernek. And boy, let me tell you, I have a crew on with me tonight. This is going to be a great show. I'm super excited about this show. And we are going to be talking about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. For those that may not know what DEI means versus merit. Now, okay, so I have two phenomenal featured guest speakers on with me tonight. Ron Owens, he is the publisher of the Fixed Ops magazine and super successful magazine in the automotive industry. So I am super excited about having Ron on tonight as we talk through this DEI versus merit. And then Mr. Tony Owens. Mr. Tony Owens, he is super popular here on social media. He has been in fixed ops for many, many years. And I'll let these guys get into their bio, their background. But before we get started, again, I do want to mention, I know we're going to have a feisty conversation on DEI, and everyone will have a strong opinion one way or the other. But I will say for myself, I grew up in the car business. My father was a car dealer. And so you can say that's certainly how I got started. I earned my wings from my father. But unfortunately, going to school, I'm in Towson State College, and my father passes away from lung cancer. So I had to make a decision. I made a decision that I was going to leave college, and I was going to go ahead and embark in the car business. And I knock on several car dealership doors and finally get to Alpaca, Lincoln, and Mercury. And I asked them to hire me to sell cars. And at first, they didn't want to hire me to sell cars. They thought, a woman can't sell cars. I convinced them to give me a shot. They give me a shot, and I more than proved that I had the DNA in my system. And I went on to be very successful in the automotive industry. So again, this is super cool. This is a great conversation for all of us. We are also going live, and we're going live on Facebook. We're going live on YouTube, X, and LinkedIn. So guys, if you like what we're talking about, and I hope that you do, please hit the subscribe button. Please share, because that's how we get my name out there and everyone else's. So, okay, let's go ahead. Let's hit this strong. Let's talk about a brief background for our dealers and viewers. Ron and Tony, if you wouldn't mind, please share your brief background with us to get us started.
Ron?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Hi, I'm Ron Owens, and I've been involved in the auto industry for a long time. Let's call it 30 years. And it's exciting. I started off with a company called Win Oil Company, or Win's Product Warranty. And it literally was a box of additives that you sold to a used car dealer and said, anything these additives touch, they'll never break, or we'll pay for the repair. So it was a really good indoctrination of both sales, F&I, and at the same time, obviously working with service departments. And all kinds of different iterations through the years of things I've done. But today I'm the publisher of Fixed Ops magazine, a magazine that's been out for 20 years and really focuses on fixed operations, how to run service better, how to run your parts department, your service lanes, even collision. How do you do those things in a better way than maybe you are today by sharing ideas from the best people in the industry? So we don't write the articles. We go out and solicit articles from the best people out there and put them in our magazine. It's a lot of fun for me because I learn through absorption, right? I'm reading 20, 30 different articles every month that come into me that want to be in the magazine. And I learn from all of these people and learn who are the best of the best. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I'm certainly glad that you're here. And I know you have a vast experience in automotive retail, whether it come in fixed ops or even in the sales and F&I offices, Ron. Tony Owens, if you wouldn't mind, please share a brief background with us to get us started tonight.
Okay, I'll be brief. I started off in this business 45 years ago, washing cars. I walked into a Honda dealership and I said, hey, I need a job. And they said, well, we need a lot, guy. I said, well, give me a shot. And they hired me, and I said, I just want to let you know I want to sell cars. They said, just go watch something. Just go watch something. They didn't pay attention to this dumb old guy. And so I washed cars for 18 months, and I stayed on them. And finally they said, okay, come in tomorrow, sell cars. May of 83, they give me a clipboard with an up card on it. That was my training. And I sold lots of cars, a ton of cars. And
I didn't realize that you started in sales. I knew that you had, well, lot. You cleaned, well, a lot, and then from lot to sales.
Well, sales is my first love, and it's always going to be. I love sales, and I stay involved in sales right now. I research sales. The only thing I don't have a lot of experience in is finance, and I know somebody can help me. But I love this business. I took some bad advice. Now, I wanted to be a closer because I sell lots of cars, and I said I want to be a closer. Thank God the closers are gone now for the most part. And but back then they were big, and they said you're going to have to walk the lot 5 more years. Remember, there's no internet then. I sold cars in cowboy boots. I wasn't walking the lot for 5 more years. So I jumped out and got in fixed operations, and I've been in fixed operations ever since for the last 35 years. So 10 years in sales. But my
That's
first
some good stuff.
was going to be.
So, like for me, I went ahead and after, I had to prove myself and then some, right? I just took to it. It was just like I was made for the car business. And from there, from sales, I went into F&I. I was sent to Pat Ryan and Associates. And I was just like, oh, here's my world. I know I'm going to be I just felt like I was going to own this, and I did. And later became an F&I director, and later hired by JM&A, and later, promoted to strategic accounts for AutoNation. And it was just like my world just like took on a new meaning. And it's just like something that it's like a knowing. And then 2001, I founded my own consulting company. So helping dealers to really help them to maximize sales, not and then I learned, it's about a total process. It's from the time the customer touches down on the dealership website, from working with those leads to sales, to presentation, negotiation, to what goes on at that desk. And that desk today is more important than ever. It is the hub of all. And it aligns with sales as well as what goes on in that F&I department. Let's not kid ourselves, to what goes on in service. So, I want to talk about, this DEI thing. And so do you think dealers are, have they gotten into the DEI mode of hiring, being sure to hire certain folks for positions, maybe in service, and now that things might be changing, maybe shifting their focus? Where are we with this whole thing? Ron?
I think you spelled it out exactly right. I think the last 3 or 4 years, there was a real focus on let's make sure that everybody gets a fair shot. And that's a really good point. Let's make sure everybody gets a fair shot. Everyone, and that no one's excluded, no matter what their race, religion, whatever that should never play into the mix. But I think what's worked lately is back to the idea that these are for-profit businesses. These dealerships are not just there as a convenience to hire people. They're there to create profit or revenue for the owners. And the reality is you need people who are merit or who've gotten the jobs or can retain their jobs through merit because they're doing a great job. And we need to spend the time that we need to train people to make sure that we got the right people aboard. But it's really important today to say, let's take these people and make sure that they look and act and they have the empathy necessary to work with our clients, our customers who bought cars and are in for service. Mm-hmm. Everybody can't look like the service manager. Everybody can't look. We were laughing before the show. I said, my good buddy, Ed Roberts, who's hair challenged. He doesn't grow quite as much hair. Every one of his service managers shouldn't be bald, and wear a pair of black glasses. That's not what they should look like. They should look like the customers they're serving, so that they can really feel and understand what they actually are all about. So I think that's the importance today, is really just working to get people based on merit, but make sure that they resemble, that they look like the audience that you're serving.
Well, I think that that's important. So, we're talking about, really having the compassion and understanding of our customer clientele and being able to do a better job to relate to our customer clientele and having the, I don't know, fortitude and drive to be able to manage that. Tony, when you hire folks in your service department, what is the guidelines that you utilize to hire the best folks for maybe a service writer position? What are you guys looking for?
Well, it really depends on the person and what their mindset is. I don't see color. I don't see any of that. I don't see male, female. None of that's important to me. What's their mindset? What is it they want to do with their life? I don't want to hire them for 2 years or 5 years. I want them to be with me forever. So when I hire those people, I want a career plan that they understand what the plan is. They understand what the goal is. We talk about that on a regular basis, and we help them to succeed. And that's how you keep long-term people. And that's extremely important. But the mindset is a big thing. It don't take long. And you're in a people business, and this is a people business. Let's face it. I know people pretty well because it's my business. So I spend a lot of time researching people, mannerisms, how they act, body language, all sorts of things. I've done it for years. Extremely important that you find somebody with the right mindset. It doesn't matter what they are, what they look like. Not so
Really?
much. Well, I don't know about. Well, looks are important.
I don't mean to put you on the mark, but I'm going to put you on the mark a little bit tonight.
I got a tooth pulled last year, and I got 4 fall out, and then 2 more fell out. So I look like a crackhead right now. So that's kind of a bad situation, and I'm working on that.
That's a tough way to go. I get it. But what about, I'm just going to put this out there, Tony and Ron. What about, okay, I have purple hair. I have not only purple hair, I have green hair and purple hair. And I've got some tattoos going for me. I am looking like spectacular. I've got a nose ring. I've got an earring. I've got it all. Am I the right person to put in front of your customer? You're Tony, you're Germain. I mean, I'm sure you have specific guidelines to some sort. I mean, that you would put anyone out there in front of your customer. Well, you know what? They might even have the ability to do the job, but do they look like they have the job? I don't know. I mean, you tell me.
Honestly, I'm not a fan of nose rings and things like that. I'm kind of conservative, and I prefer to be. I got some tattoos, but they're hidden. They're under me. They're under my clothes. I don't have a bunch of them like some people, but looks are important when it comes right down to it. You have to be presentable. You have to be professional. You have to speak well and be articulate. Those are all very important things. If you have those things, you got the tool to build on.
Well, I don't know if this happens with larger automotive groups, and maybe Ron can speak to this. But in your larger automotive groups, don't you have to have some sort of selection process when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI hires? And what does that mean?
I think there has been in the past. I think it's been important.
In the last 4 years.
There may be some guidelines that just says, as you're looking for people, let's keep a good mix of people in the group. And if the opportunity presents itself, let's do that. But then again, let's not exclude somebody simply because they don't meet a certain criteria for them. If you get a great guy who comes in the door and you're like, I'm looking for a female. Well, you're looking for a female. Still hire the great guy, okay? And move on and continue to look for that female that you're looking for. But it is a business, and I don't want to sound like a gong, but the reality is this is a for-profit business, and everybody is looking for an opportunity for themselves to succeed. And if you put people in a job that they're not going to be successful, you're doing a disservice for them. You're wasting their time by putting them in a place where they're going to fail. Because like you said, if somebody comes to me with tattoos, nose rings, purple hair, and says, "Hey, Ron, I got this great service you need for your car," I'm going to be like, "And so what do you know about service for a car?" Because it looks like your focus has not been on service of a car. It's on, your focus is someplace else. And it's a distraction. It's nothing more than that. And I literally have not hired somebody in an office setting who literally came in like you described. And I just said, you know what? They don't represent me. They don't represent my values. They don't represent what my business ethics and what my business statement says who we are. Mm-hmm. And without that, if they don't fit, then I'm doing them a disservice. It's not like I'm excluding them. I'm excluding them from an opportunity they would fail at because they don't meet meet the goals that we're looking to achieve. And
so over the past 4 years, I mean, we've had, where, hey, we have to hustle. We have to get some of these guys hired, and like it or not, they meet certain goals. We have to have certain amount of females, certain amount of blacks. We have to have a certain amount of something. And are we meeting that objective? And I'm sure there are groups, automotive groups, that had to look at this, the larger, I would imagine, having to look at this and say, I don't know what those guidelines are, right? But we are putting people in places to fail. And our own folks,
that's the way I see it. I mean, if you asked me to cut hair, okay, I would fail. You asked me to put makeup on people, okay, I couldn't do it. If you asked me to do an auto repair, I would be a failure at it. But put me in a role that allows me to use my strengths, and I will succeed. And that's what I've done in life. I found a way of aligning my skill sets with the opportunities that come before me, and therefore it's helped me to be successful in what I've done.
Well, I'm just trying, what I'm trying to do here is just listen.
That allows me to use my strengths.
Let's take a look here. I don't listen to a lot. I found a way of aligning. Sorry. I wanted to see and make sure I'm not missing any comments that came in tonight for the show. I'm sure that there'll be plenty of folks coming in and also participating. But Tony, when you talk about service and you're talking about folks that are, I guess, they're responsible for really driving home sales, bringing customers in to the dealership, and service is so important, of retaining that customer.
It's everything.
And I would think that, and again, I'm not the expert when it comes to the fixed ops, that's for sure. But I would imagine it wouldn't be too much different than sales. It's like the first impression is so important.
Well, you've heard it a million times. I'm sure you both have. Sales sells the first car, service sells the next ones, and that's very true. It's that relationship, and extremely important to keep that going throughout the entire process, throughout the customer's life. I got customers I've been dealing with since 1982. They're still my customers. That's a long time.
That's a real testament to what you've done.
Well, it's nothing special about me. I just love people, and I like to make sure people taken care of. Right. They come to me with something. They need something. They have needs. In service, I answer my phone 24 hours if it rings, and customers have my number. And they don't all call me all the time, but they do, and it's all right if they do, because if they're 24 hours. We're only open X amount of hours. What happens if they have a problem and we're closed? They need somebody to call. We sell the next car, and we keep that relationship going. That's extremely important.
Well, I would think so, and I would think that for all. there was some comments, that we had, and I think that you read some of those comments last night when I posted the event, or maybe the day before. But, some of the guys and gals were mentioning that they have maybe a concern with DEI and where that's going. And we have Andrew Pearson. Thank you for coming on, Andrew, and saying hi. Good to see you. Glad my comments are working. I was a little concerned about it, but I'm glad you're here and letting me know. All is good, Andrew. Nice to have you here. So the comment was, okay, and then we have Corey. Okay, Corey's coming on. Good evening, Corey. I'm glad you're able to make it as well. It's like, Jesus, where's everybody at? I'm glad to see you, Corey. Glad you can make it. So yeah, so we had a few adamant that were like they were concerned that this dropping away, we're not having a good focus. We're not focusing on DEI hires, right? We're not as focused as what we were. And how is that taking away from other hires? And I think for folks like myself, when I went to Alpaca Lincoln Mercury, I'm going to tell you right now, they did not want to hire me. They just did not want to do it. And it was like, but see, then Tony, look at you. See, this is my point. You also wanted to be hired in sales. You had to start, or so you said you wanted to. I'll start washing cars. You got your break washing cars. I got my break by talking them into hiring me. I'm thinking, what, 30 days? Come on, I'll show you one way or the other. I've got this or not. But I had the fortitude and drive. You had the fortitude and drive. Just because you are who you are doesn't make you rich. It doesn't make you successful. And that's what I think the difference is. It's not like, oh, okay, well, you're a female, so you belong in F&I. You've been a person you worked at the bank. Doesn't make me successful as an F&I person, as much as some might want to believe. Just switch devices, couldn't push to the big TV from the cell, and now on the big computer screen.
There we go.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it. Maybe that's some of the problem with some of the other folks. I'm not sure, but I'm glad that you're here and listening in. And I'd love to get some of your feedback. Oh, you got Chris Kerr. Thank you, Chris, for coming in. I appreciate it. Chris Kerr, he talks about the issue has been that DEI has been taken to the extreme. To Tony's point, color, gender, creed, etc., it doesn't matter. If you have the desire and passion along with the intangibles, you can't teach like integrity. You can train the job. What are your thoughts on that, Ron?
Yeah, I think he's hit it right. I think, Chris, you've hit it right on the head. It's finding people with those intangibles and really focusing on those, the people with integrity, the people that have the ability to be empathetic with the customer if they're in that role, or those people that know how to, in sales, how to transfer enthusiasm, as I call it. That's what sales is. I'm going to transfer my enthusiasm about something to you so that you feel as good as I do about buying that or having that service done on your vehicle. And doing those things takes a unique person. And the rest of it, like you said, Chris, you can train all the other aspects of it. And just that whole idea of just, blind justice and just literally, let's not look at any of those other factors. Let's focus on those traits that are so important to make someone successful in the job.
Amen. Thank you, Chris. Good question. Very good question. Alpaca and down the road to Angelina's for a crab cake. Don't you know it, Corey? He knows the town that I'm talking about. Corey and I talked a little bit about all this. He remembers all that. From Elliot Packer, Rick Olson, Rick Bobbitz, Rick Sherry. Yes, loved calling on them in the late 90s. Jesus. I mean to tell you, those were the days, my friend, we never thought they'd end. Corey, you're so cool. He remembers that's what it was all. crab cakes. I miss them. I love those crab cakes. I don't get as much crab cakes in North Carolina, that's for sure. And Randy, hey, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I think you should have standards, dress codes, appearance and cleanliness. But the individual needs to have the ability to execute as well as work with others on the team. They should be hired.
Absolutely.
Well, again, I think that there is a standard. I do. I kind of talk about this sometimes in my Ev and I Today group about, I remember years back, and Kip Kilman. Anyway, he was the dealer. And I know, Kip, I'm sorry, I'm butchering your last name. And he was Kip. I bet Corey knows it. And Kip and Tyson's had a great dealership thing. And it was like, he was so concerned about women and their dress codes. And so I had this one female that she'd come in and she'd help me, and she'd be like a fill-in and clean up some deals and stuff like that. And she was a huge help. And I thought she looked great in her short dresses. It's just, and so sometimes, you have to think, should there be a certain dress code for anyone, male or female? I think there's something to be said about that. Randy, you have to work with your clientele, especially if you are customer facing. So does that mean I can't wear my purple lipstick? I don't know. Maybe I can. All the core skills, experience, and abilities are mission. God, these are good questions, critical and important. Ethics, competencies regarding DEI. However, to the extent you can mirror the market you serve, which should, in my mind, be the way that you take DEI into account. That's important too. For example, if you're a large company and you serve whites, blacks, Hispanics, women, men, on and on, Spanish speakers, Indian speakers, Chinese speakers, if they're in your market, ensure there is a representation in your employee.
Yeah, I think Corey hit exactly. He said it much better than I did. The idea is mirroring your audience or mirroring the people you're working with. And I think, Corey, I think you're right on. I think we're on the same page on this, that the reality is you want to have a diverse group of people because you serve a diverse group of people. And so that you want all those people that are going to be working in your staff to be there so that they feel comfortable when they come in the door. That's all. And that everybody's working together and understands the goals. I think it makes great sense. Good point.
Yeah, I like that. We've got a comment. At Disney, they had the Disney look, which is timeless. More dealers should consider a uniform dress code. What are your thoughts about that one? Tony, I want to know what you think about a uniform dress code.
I'm not opposed to it. One thing about that, if a customer's in your dealership, they're going to know you're working there if you're dressed like the other people that are working there. So that's an advantage. They can walk up to anybody in that uniform and say, "Hey, can you help me?" Hopefully the person don't point. They walk them to where they're going. But that's a good point. I don't think that's a bad idea. I'm for dress codes. I think it's okay. I'm not against it at all. I like it. So.
You know what? I think a uniform would make things a whole heck of a lot easier. So I'm going to give you up a little bit. So Andrew Pearson, I know a little bit about him, an F&I person and a very talented F&I person. So one of the things that he did, he always made sure that he wore his name tag along with all dealership paraphernalia. And it was like, he was a showmanship. It was like all about, I am so proud of the franchise dealership, whether it be, he would have, I am not even kidding you. He would have his jacket for Toyota. He'd have his jacket for Nissan. He would have his jacket for Hyundai, and he would have his name tag and on it. And he would be proud wearing it. And I felt like at first it was kind of funny because I wasn't used to it because everybody kind of shies away from the name tag and wearing the paraphernalia, but not Andrew. He was like, I want people to feel good with me. I want them to like me, that I'm credible. And that meant so much. And that's why in many cases he was very, and continues to be very, very successful. I think that there's a lot to be said about that appearance, right? And recognition, credibility. And that's super important too.
Well, Randy came up, if you don't mind me saying this quickly, Randy came up with something pretty strong there. He was talking about team players. This is the most important thing. You talk about Ed Robertson. He's a good friend of mine too. And I call him B-Top, best team on the planet, because team players, when I was managing years ago, but not year, well, when I was managing, I won't say years ago, I'm not that old. I hired just about anybody, and then I realized, hey, and I've learned so much over the past 6 years working with the manager I'm working with now, who's a great one. And he's actually taught me. I've had great technicians say, hey, I said, hey, you need to hire this guy. He says, he won't fit the team. He's not a team player. That's so important. That's extremely important. If they're a team player.
How do you know if they're a team player?
Well, and take me, for instance. I managed 2 dealerships, part, service, and body at the same time. Did that for a lot of years. And now I'm a warranty administrator, and I assist the service manager with what the advisors need and technicians need and things of that nature. I'm a team player. That's my role. Don't matter to me what goes on. I'm going to stay with my role and help the team. It doesn't matter that I'm not managing like I was. Sure, I want to again, but it's not my role. Got to be a team player. I'm going to be a team player. That's what it's all about.
Women were not allowed to wear pants when I started. We're not allowed to wear pants when I started at Ford Motor Company in Detroit. No way, Corey. Women were not allowed to wear pants.
I can believe that.
It's funny. So years ago, right, in certain schools, women couldn't wear pants to school. I think I remember that. That is just, and it was bizarre because it was like freezing cold out. Like, are you walking to school with no pants on? Who come up with that? So women had to be like freezing, like with their socks. I don't know. And finally, somebody had to say something about it and say, you know what, this is ridiculous, but this is crazy. So let's see what we have here. Had to be dresses, skirts, blouses. Your comments about the F&I guy branded, that's awesome. Align the through and be transparent and accessible. That's good. And heck, if you're dorky but not offensive and it stands out, then yes, memorability is awesome. Like my old friend Chuck Stevens, who is singing signing dealers in Bay in Alabama, was always doing karaoke back in the Lincoln region in Atlanta. Not exactly. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it just means people with unique personalities. And this particular person had the gift of being able to, he thought, sing, right? So he would just use his walk around the store, humming, singing, doing whatever, and everybody would say, that's really quirky. But on the other hand, that was his personality, and he would be, you'd accept him for who he was and say, that's pretty cool. He's comfortable with himself.
Yeah, so there's quirky people out there, Andrew. I mean, there's a lot of quirky people. I mean, don't make Andrew, I love you to death, but you're a bit quirky. And, so the quirky, the better. It's just like, that's your own personality. I remember, in one of the stores that I was in, different dealerships. But this one guy, he was the duck man. I'm like, the duck man? What the heck is that? And he had ducks everywhere, all over his desk. But the customers got to know him. It's a bit dorky, but customers got to know him as the Mr. Duck, the duck man. And well, it works. It does work. I mean, there is a certain personality, right, that we all have to live and love by that can make all the difference. I agree. I agree with that. Turned into owns all the shingles. See, yeah, you can't, I learned a long time ago, you can't judge a book by its cover, but, right? I mean, we can't. I mean, I can tell you how many times farmers used to come into the dealership and, just because they had more of the overhauls and everything else doesn't necessarily mean they can't buy a car, because they can buy a car and pay cash and all of it and then some. I mean, to tell you. So it would be important for us to recognize that as well. But that being said, just because you're wearing overhauls and you're kind of cool, do we do that in a dealership? Do we do that in service? And Andrew, you are an actor. That's true. Yes, you're a Hollywood actor now too. He loves his acting. He's going to be famous in Hollywood. Hello, everyone. Glad I made it. Yay. I'm glad you made it too. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because we got the quirky stuff and there are folks that are different. There's some different folks out there that turn out to have such a unique personality that can make a big difference in sales. How do we pick that up?
It don't take long. You can pick it up pretty fast.
Well, I meant like during the hiring process.
You ask questions like, tell me something about yourself that maybe you weren't going to share. It's not going to affect your ability to get the job. I just want to get to know you better. What about it? What are some of your interests? Or what is something you've done in the past that really excited you? And you find out, oh, I was in theatric plays and I enjoyed singing on stage. Oh, really? Okay, well, tell me a little more about that. Great.
Right.
So you loved being in front of people. You loved sharing with people. And now you know something about them you didn't already know. And
so here comes the guy or gal, and they've got the purple hair, the green hair, and they have the nose ring, Tony, nose ring, and maybe a little bit on the lip too, right here. Why don't we? And a little tattoo here and there and everywhere else. But you know what? Maybe they can be personable and people would love them. What was the name of that one movie series that I used to absolutely love? And it was, oh God, not CSI Miami. It was one of the other ones where, oh gosh, I can't remember her name. She had purple hair and she had all these kind of crazy like tattoos and stuff like that. And she turned out to be like super cool. And she was like a super cool computer wizard and that sort of stuff in this series. And I can't remember the name of the show, but how do we get away? How do we make the best decision under these kind of circumstances?
In my mind, I think it's as simple as someone like that say, you know what, you do have the ability to communicate. You are a winsome, fun person. Let's do something like, let's start you with our BDC department, where you're going to be on the phone, you're going to be talking with our customers, and you're going to be able to share that enthusiasm about, thank you for calling our store. What can we do to make your day better? And, you can take all that positivity you have and share it with our customers. At the same time, we can preserve what we want to, and that is to say, people in this role need to fit this standard. And this standard includes, maybe it does include wearing a uniform, wearing a polo shirt with the company name on it, or whatever it is, and say that's part of what we're saying is required for the job. And so I think it's just finding the right place for that right person and find out where they fit without changing your standards to meet what their apparent standards are may be different.
So Randy says, do y'all think many privately owned dealerships actually adhered to DEI in their stores?
I don't think so.
Probably not. They made less effort probably than others. I think you're probably right. There was no one looking over their shoulder. They were looking for just running their business the best way. Randy, you have a really good point. It really comes down to each store and what the directives are of the person in charge. And if someone didn't say, hey, look, put this on the front burner, it didn't get to the front burner.
Right.
No
Right.
question.
That would probably have to be an HR directive. And I would imagine this was probably more so in the public stores than, or the larger stores where, they're on the mark. They have the bullseye on them than some of these smaller, family owned dealerships. But there is something to be said about it because I still think, and again, I'm pushing. I pushed it really hard over the years, and I do believe that dealers need to be more open-minded when it comes to hiring more females in the automotive industry. I do believe that, and I'm with you on that one, Tony, all day long. I believe that they need to be a little bit more open-minded when it comes to females. And, I always hear, well, Becky, they just don't have what you've got. And, they're not willing to, put the hours in. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. They all work in retail. They work in real estate. They're more than willing to put those hours in. And do we necessarily have to have the same old hours? I mean, can't we do something different? Can't we get a little bit more innovative and bring some fresh blood into our industry? I think that there's a lot to be said about that. And now we are starting to blow up. Here we go. All right. Get ready, guys. Get ready, Tony. Here we go. Get out from behind the desk, walk around the dealership, shop, and make conversations about things we observe. Go to the coffee spot, get your beverages, and have some conversation, dialogue.
Great points, Coralie. That makes a lot of sense.
She wrote a great book too.
Good book?
Yes, she wrote a great book. Very good book. She's writing another one too. It's very good.
Awesome. Got to get that book. I'm also coming out with my book, F&I Fundamentals, coming out soon. And hopefully I can get some testimonials from you guys and, to add to my bio from you guys. But yeah, that's terrific. And I hope that Coralie is very, very successful. And we've got, I'm telling you, this is loading up. Hi, Randy. Dealers I work with don't actually mandate DEI. Diversity was prevalent in more stores before DEI was a PR effort. Okay.
Yeah.
Steve Apicella. Let's see what Steve has to say. Rebecca, Ron, and Tony together on one live broadcast. Yay, tune in. There's a lot of knowledge there and industry horsepower here, and sincerely, some great folks. Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate that you're here with us as well. You're good folk too, by the way.
Steve was awesome. Steve was awesome. Got a great system too. We talked about that on the Big Top show last night. It's sensational.
It really is. I mean, talk about being a lot more efficient in your process. I mean, why wouldn't you do it? These are some of the things, dealers get so overwhelmed with all of this technology and what's going on. They don't really get to really understand, what technology does what and where. And I got to say, his technology, believe me when I tell you, something I thought through before COVID, but he dialed in and he created the most efficient way to be able to continue to communicate with your customers. You get to the point where, you've been banging your head up against the wall a million times thinking that you can drive sales through service. It's a no-brainer, right? Until it's not. It's a great idea until it's not.
And then you're a financial expert, I figure, because you've been doing this so long and you're great at it. Sensational.
A little bit at it.
So you've done this. You sold aftermarket products. Steven's process advisors know exactly what these people got every time.
What makes it nice, and I know I don't want to, venture off too much on this, but what makes this nice, because I'd like to get Steve back on the live talk with us as well. But not only getting the product back in front of the customer if they decided not to take advantage of one product or another, because his thing is, and it's true, if you're not selling that product, somebody else is after the fact. They all have the public record. It's free to everyone to have access to. So they do, and they these companies market to these customers. And from there, then customers are buying these other products. Why would you do that? How many $1 billion, what did he mention last night? It's billions of dollars. $4 billion, the dealers are not taking advantage of. It makes no sense. So I've been banging my head up against the wall. I can't tell you how long. Ron and I have had conversations about this a bazillion times, and it like drives me nuts. And it's like, okay, well, Steve, here comes Steve, and he's helped to automate this process. So guess what? We're in front of that customer. It's a consistent process, offering those products. But not only that, he does, that claim processing makes so much easier. You don't have customers saying, or service saying to customers, they didn't buy one product or the other. That product is married to that VIN number. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's super simple. Why wouldn't you do it? Boy, I could be a commercial for him.
Me
Tully
too.
Williams is here. Hello, all. Tully, thank you so much. That was really cool.
They're talking a lot.
Everybody knows Tully. He is the man. Corley, Becky, I wish I knew about all the opportunities at a younger age. I am with you 100%. Let me tell you. So I have a funny story. So when I was working in sales and I first got promoted to F&I, my boss told me, he goes, let me tell you something, Becky, you're too old. You're too old. This is it. This is the rest of your career. This is all you've got. Never say never, because you're never too old. Hello, Tully Williams, and we got Chris. Okay, women that have the intangibles and the fortitude to deal with the BS that still exists in the industry, crush sales and F&I.
Sure.
Yes,
I think it's true. I think women do, but I think men do too. That you have to have a fortitude to get through the baloney, because it doesn't matter who you are or where you are. There will be a level of baloney. There will be favoritism. There will be, you got the bad desk, you don't get the ups, you don't get you call it whatever it is, okay? Mm-hmm. And, at the end of the day, the guy or the gal who's got the perseverance at the end of the day and can deal with that and say, you know what, that is life. There will be friction. No matter what I do, I'm going to overcome that and become great. And those females will become great. And like men, it's a small percentage of the whole, right? Yeah. And that's what's so hard in this sometimes, is we make these generalizations that, all men don't have empathy and all women, are want more time off at work. Well, that's not true. But there's some that do. And like you said, there's men that really have no empathy. But the reality is, when you find that right person, you've got to retain them. You got to give them the opportunity to succeed, and you got to give them all the tools that they need to get the job done. And I think that's
the place to win.
Success.
No, I agree completely. I think sometimes we forget that we need to have a roadmap to success. We need to make sure that, women are different than men. You might be able to set a guy up in the lunchroom and watch videos and that sort of stuff, and they'd be okay with that. But I know as a female, I need more than there's got to be something more than that. I need to touch, feel, see it, own it. I need a guide. I need a roadmap. I don't need just to stick me up there and watch videos and then, okay, now you got it all figured out. Let's go. Let's go sell cars. Now, of course, for me, that's really kind of what it was. But I think now that we have these tools and techniques and strategies, we need to think about education. And one of the posts that I just saw, I think it's Fred Anderson. I don't know. Anderson Group really talking about, and Germain, I think, has done a really good job in making sure that, are we putting our best foot forward? Are we doing our best job educating the folks that we bring on board to be able that we're doing a good job with onboarding them and getting them started and giving them a good direction to go in? Are we doing a good job with that, male or female?
Yeah, and we probably aren't, right? As a rule, we probably aren't doing enough. Or just as we talked about before, making sure that they're buying into this, that they believe in what you're asking them to do, and they feel like they can be successful, and that they can trust that they can have that conversation with you to say, I don't know that I can accomplish that, but help me better understand it, or help me find an opportunity within your organization where I can excel and move forward.
Management by walking around too. Love it. Thanks, Corey. Absolutely. You got to be in the game. Great show. Mike Moran, good guy. I don't know if you guys know Mike or not. Super great guy. He is the thank you video, Mike Moran. Super cool guy. He's got it going on. He's got thank you video, I'm telling you, in automotive retail, power sports, RV. He's got thank you video in the health industry, in the real estate industry. He is a super great person. Love you, Mike. Thank you for all your support. And then we got Chris Kerr. The car industry has to move away in a good way, Chris. I mean, then we have Chris Kerr. No, you're a terrific support system, Chris Kerr. Thank you. The car industry has to move away from managers and create leaders who lead from the front. Amen.
Yeah, there's no
Tony,
question.
what do you have to say about that?
I agree with that 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Ron?
Yeah, I think if you talk to the better stores, you're absolutely right. The managers are really coaches. They're really people who just help facilitate people to do their best job. They interact with them and talk with them and saying, how are you doing with what your goals are? What can I do to make it better? How can I help you achieve your goals? They're not lording over them and telling them, come on, two more items on every RO. No, that's not where they're going. They're saying, how can I help you achieve your goals? How can I make your job better? That's a manager or leader today and what they do.
Absolutely.
I think you guys, when I look at this, and I've had the chance to meet with Tony, meet with you, Ron, and, I get a chance to meet with a lot of different talented automotive folks in the automotive industry. And I've been very, very blessed. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how blessed I feel by having the opportunity to know you. And I think that it takes, we got to be open-minded to learn, to grow, to hear it from both, from as many folks as we can, to have even a deeper understanding of the industry, what it takes to tick in service, and the importance of why should F&I bridge the gap between what goes on in F&I versus what's happening in that service department, and that deep understanding that if we're all in this together, man, we can make a big thing happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I watch your show, and that's why I watch Ted's show, and that's why I watch Frank Lopes, because I want to learn. I've been doing this 45 years. I ain't done yet. There's a lot I got to learn. I want to learn how we do business today, not how we did business in the 50s. I want to know how we do it today. That's the way we do it. The old deal's dead. The way to do it.
I like that, because I think that if we did a little bit more of that, we would all see, I'm not asking folks, or I'm not asking dealers to change. I'm not looking at that. But what I am saying that why do we have some of these practices then in place, that we've had since 2000 and since 2001, when our customers have changed, what are we doing, and why are we doing what we're doing? And we're expecting a different result to happen. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Let's see what Mike Moran has to say here. Sorry. Should a single point dealer offer an H&R department? Good question, Mike.
I think they should have, if not an HR department, if they can't afford that, to have a remote one, or a company that comes in and help. There's just too many issues in today's world that are just outside of a manager's ability to manage all those things. You need to have a real good manual for your employees, so they know what they can and can't do, how you're going to handle, PTO, or however you work vacation and time off, because we go into this with the assumption that everybody's a great person, and the reality is there's a group of people that are going to come to your store who are not great people, and you have to have rules so that they don't pollute the rest of the people, and that they just, you have ways, like through an HR department, that you can handle people that maybe are, don't have the right motivation for your store, and HR department will help you be able to take care of those people.
Yeah, I think so. Good answer. Good question. Hey, Coralie, yes, Tony Owens. Sorry. Popped in, Tony, but you're right. That's good. It's better to be right than wrong. But right. I mean, everybody's got to work in unison together and really be able to support that. And great point again, Lisa, great point, Tony, on that. Yeah, I think that that's something that we have to do a better job with, Tony. And what would you recommend to dealers on really creating that environment, if you will?
I look at it this way. This is pretty simple. A lot of people disagree with me, but if I hire somebody and they fail, it's my fault. That's the way I feel. You put them in a position to win. You get a career plan for those people. When they start, you work with them on a regular basis all the time. You keep them grounded. They know where they're going. They know how they're succeeding. They're happy with your company, and it's going to work. But that's the way you got to do it.
So do you have consistent communication? Like, for example, like maybe with Germain, I don't know, but do you tell people like what they like are good at? Like, you're really good at this, but you need some improvement here. So what is the feedback that they get on a monthly basis?
You got to go positive and negatives. I mean, there's always positive and negatives. Now, I try to stay pretty positive, as you know. I'm known for that, and I try to.
Yeah, you are. You're super positive.
But I'm not always positive. You know, sometimes you can't always be positive. But there's other ways than that to discuss things that are a little touchy, and not be negative, but not be positive. Given direction and agreement between you and the other person you're speaking with, you have to agree or come to some sort of understanding. They need to know how you feel, and you need to know how they feel, because it's so important that you know your people so well. It is extremely important. I tell all people, if you got 50 people, you're managing 50 ways. Everybody's got their own drive. Everybody's got their own personality. Everybody's got their own way. Everybody's got their own goals. You got to treat them as individuals.
People make the difference. If your team isn't right, your dealership will suffer. Build the right team and everything else will fall into place. You believe in that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. Hey, Sam. Good to see you. And then we've got Mike. DEI affect a private dealer group versus a public dealer group. What? Does DEI affect a private dealer group versus a public dealer group?
I guess in my mind, it shouldn't affect them. Both should have some sort of plan to say that we want our employees to look like the people that we service and we represent. And that's the diversity we need to have. Everyone can't look like Tony. Everyone can't look like Ron or Becky. They need to be people that represent your community, represent the community of people who work or buy cars from your store. And you want that to be the case. But on the other hand, they need to be successful. They need to be successful in what they do. We need to put them in a position to succeed.
Definitely.
Yeah. So with that, I know we have a couple minutes left, maybe not even, but I got to say that I think direction is important. I think that communication is key. We need to make sure, does the person understand what they're good at? You know, it's not until after it's all said and done that we're having conversation that, you know, you're not fitting in. Well, what does that mean? All of a sudden I was fitting in, but now I'm not fitting in. Why am I not fitting in? What's not working? Why is that a surprise? Why didn't we have conversations about this beforehand? About some of the behavior and our expectations? Why are we waiting until this person, like you said, Tony, you're responsible for the hire, right? If they make it or not. What are we doing to making sure that individual is successful? So that's another one. It's like, well, you know, we gave this guy or gal a shot, and you know what? Guess what? It didn't work out. Oh, double darn. What, so what did we have those conversations with that person? Did we let them know, hey, these are things that you're doing super terrific, not just being, hey, patting on a back, you're doing a great job, let's hug today. I'm talking about, can we have a conversation that says, this is what we're good at, this is what we need some help with. And we have to have continuing conversation about that.
Hire and work are both 4-letter words. When you hire somebody, it's work. Your work begins. You have to keep working. That's where your job starts. Not when you hire them. Their job starts. Your job starts too.
Yeah. And making sure that's managed and you have good communication. I often see too many times we just don't have the communication's not there. Right. It's like one day they're good, next day, I don't know, it's not working out for me, buddy. See you later, down the road you go. I think we could do a better job with that. We have another comment here. Whoa. Historically, the federal government, sorry about that, Ron, required large enterprises with government contracts to make adequate annual progress in representing various groups at the various levels and showing improvement so that their levels were, I could probably help out with this in a second. Historically, the federal government, levels and showing improvement. So their levels were compromised eventually, similarly to the broader labor market. This is said to be changing after 60 years, given the new administration, to the extent that the dealer group had enough business with the federal government to the questionnaires inquiry he would have had to.
Yeah, and I think that's his point, Corey. It is a good point that basically it was mandated, right? If you did any type of government business, you had to meet all these requirements that we're talking about. That's changing over time. They said like he just said, changing after 60 years with the new administration. Now the focus is deliver the goods, do a great job, deliver it for everyone. And that's not just financially, that's everything. That's providing high CSI scores with your customers. It's meeting all of the requirements of the job and doing a great job. And if not, let's find a better role for you and do a good thing for both the dealership and for the person.
I think so too. But again, I think we have to have communication. I think that, we have to be dialed in and we have to, hire right, train right, be all in. Yeah. And I think if we can do that and make sure that we're managing that individual correctly, I can tell you how many times I go into a store and what blows me away, I could talk about this forever, but what blows me away, and an F&I manager doesn't even know their pay plan. And do not tell me that an F&I manager doesn't need to know their pay plan. Of course, an F&I manager needs to know their pay plan. They should know their pay plan. They need to be able to work the pay plan. That's what it's all about. Right. And yet they don't know. How do you not know? And why didn't a manager sit you down and make sure you understand your pay plan? Those are just the basics. And then you want to know why they're not achieving their results. Well, how about you let them know these are results that you need to achieve, and here's your pay plan, buddy. And can I help you understand it? It's just too much. It happens all the time. Sam hit the nail on the head. Good to Great book. You need to have the right people on the bus. Amen. I get it. You definitely do. But you also have to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And like I said, it takes the right, hiring process. It takes the right, the right guidelines and support, right? The roadmap and communication. Randy, we have to hire the right person, provide them. Thank you, Randy. The right training. I really like you, and give them the metrics that they need to achieve. Coaching is so important with everyone's success. That's what I'm saying. I couldn't agree more.
Well, professional ball players have coaches. They have them for a reason. And it's funny. I'm a baseball guy. Great coaches win wherever they go.
Well, I'll tell you right now. Did y'all watch the Did you all watch the Super Bowl?
Oh yeah.
So did you think that the Eagles was going to win, or did you have it for the
I
Chiefs?
did actually. I like the defense. I like the Eagles defense, and I figured they'd probably win that game. A lot of people don't like me for that reason. I got a lot of fans that are Kansas City. I got a lot of friends that are Kansas City fans. I get that, but the Eagles defense was. I figured they were going to win that game, and they did.
And they had. If you ask me now, I thought that they had the eye of the tiger. I thought that they did everything that they needed to do to make it happen. And that comes with skill, with the right coaching, with the right training, with the right mindset. I tell you, these guys were on the mark. They really were. I was like, I loved it. And, look, the Chiefs, they won 2 already. Now, I know that they were looking for their 3rd one, but still. Eagles kick butt. So that's what it's all about, right? And so any last remarks before we call it a night?
I just want to thank you for having me on the show, of course. And Ron, it's always great to be on the show with you. Thank you very much. Always great listening to you. Buy the magazine, people. It's Sensation South magazine. Lord have mercy. Everybody should have it. Sales managers should have it. Front end people should have it. Back end people should have it. They need to know what's going on back there. Great magazine. Make sure.
It is a super great magazine, and I hope you guys pick it up. If you haven't picked it up already, you have to. Everybody who knows everyone reads Fixed Ops magazine. And I got to tell you, Ron is super cool. He's a great guy, and he knows his stuff. And Tony, so do you. You're
and
super
I want your
cool.
book.
And
when your book comes out, I want to be there.
I've been meaning to do this for a long time, but it's for some it's not. The other book will come out, but this is more on the F&I fundamentals, right? It's A to Z, everything you wanted to know.
Exactly what I want to know.
It's like your handbook, like you bring it to work and you really, you dive into anything and everything you needed to know about F&I. It really is your handbook. It's your Bible. It's what you can bring to your job to make sure if there's something you need to know, how to deal structure, how to work the lenders, understand leasing, you name it, whatever, presentation, overcoming objections, what those objections are, all the above, and then some, how to make that F&I job that much better, easier, and more profitable. That's when you want to tap into my F&I fundamentals book, because it's proven. The content in that book is proven to be successful. So I'm excited about it. So thank you guys. And thank you so much for coming on and talking about this incredible topic, because sometimes it's just not an easy topic to discuss, but it's necessary. So I want to
about watch the show too. Thank you, everybody.
And I'm glad you were able to be here, Tony and Ron. Thank you so much. And we have one more comment. Good stuff, you guys. Thanks for putting on such an interesting session. See, that's what I like. I love being able to put on really good content that, we can really kind of talk about and really get involved with. Eagles look like the 85. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Yes, I know. This is great. Yeah, that's even better. I love you, Randy. You're super cool. And thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. And until next time.
Thanks, everybody.